Okay, let's look at more. We're talking about the what do you call it, the nature of anti-Semitism, which we discussed earlier, right? Love Bibles. You read the Megillah yet? Think about the Megillah? Okay, so let's look at the Megillah drop. What does it say about Haman? It says, after these matters, Gidal HaMelech Achashverosh et Haman ben Hamadatha Hagagi, Wayinasa Ehu. What does it mean, Gidal? Wayinasa Ehu. He made him great and he lifted him up. Not when you say nase, it's usually not physical lift up. It means give him a promotion. Okay, or also just give him more covet, as they say. Wayasem et kiso me'al kol asrim asher ito. So three things that Achashverosh did for Haman. Gidal, Wayinase Ehu, Wayasem et kiso. So Gidal means he promoted him, gave him better jobs. Wayinase Ehu means, I guess, more of a ceremonial position. Okay, Gidal is given a position in the government because back then there was a connection. You know, the king was the head of state and he was also the head of the government. Nowadays we divide the two, right? So he gave him an actual position and a ceremonial position, and he put his seat above all his other advisors. So what does that mean? Somewhere or other there was I guess when the king is in council and he has all his men sitting around him, by rank, you say that, let's say in the States, who's the highest ranking cabinet member? Remember, it's the Secretary of State, right? And there's Secretary of Defense, and there's this and that. So they actually have a list in the succession. If something the craziest thing would happen, so it's like the president, the vice president, and then Speaker of the House, whatever it is, right? Remember those? So you're supposed to have that in case of emergency. So basically, what Achashverosh did was he put his seat above the others. Somehow or other, the position of their seat, all the other avodim, they have seats around Achashverosh. So Haman's seat was above everybody else's. So Gidal means he gave him a promotion, an actual better job, gave him a more ceremonial position, and when it came to rank among all the others advisors, he made him the highest one. Okay, so Haman was really moving up in the world, which is similar to what was just released today, but we discussed last week. What arch anti-Semites move up in the world? If you want to, make a name for yourself, just like who Titus told Onkelos. Titus, the dead Titus, was raised up through necromancy by Onkelos the Ger, right before he converted to Judaism, by the way, his uncle Titus, and said, yeah, you want to get ahead in this world, become a big anti-Semite. So that's basically what happened with Haman. Okay, so the three languages of promotion describing Haman, okay, all are significant. And then it says a few times in the Megillah, when he launched his plan, he gives the title Haman ben Hamidatza Ha'agagi, Sorer HaYudim. What's Sorer HaYudim? Troubler of the Jews. Now, it's interesting. If you call him Sorer HaYudim, I understand. No one else in the Torah, all the bad guys who exist through history, don't get this title almost. Sorer HaYudim. Troubler of the Jews, or antagonist of the Jews, right? But not only that, it seems that's what Achashverosh called him. Why? Because it says he took his ring off his finger and he gave it to Haman ben Amadasa Agit. So where Hayudim? It's as though Achashverosh gave him this position as Sorer Hayudim. I'm hereby appointing you. Haman's not introduced. It's when Achashverosh gives him the ring. Here, you want to have a plan? You are now Sorer Hayudim. You're as though minister of holocausting, and that's also what we see elsewhere. A few times he's called Sorer Hayudim. It says when Haman was hung, Achashverosh decided to give all of Haman's estate to Esther. It says Natan Hamel Achashverosh at Beit Haman Hagagi Sorer Hayudim. Here, I'll read you the exact verse here. Beginning of chapter 8. Bayomahu Natan Hamel Achashverosh le'Esther Malka at Beit Haman Sorer Hayudim. Okay, gave him over the house. Everything Haman had, he gave. Haman. So where are you doing? So where do you get there? And also when when Haman's sons are killed, Asera b'nei Haman. Okay, Agit. So where are you doing? So what do you see was going on here? Okay, it is. It's a government title. Achashverosh appointed him, just like Mishneh Lamelech Achashverosh. It says Mordechai was Mishneh Lamelech. That's not a descriptive term. That's a title. Mishneh Lamelech occurs a few times in Tanakh. It means the king's number two. And Mishneh Lamelech is also described in Mishnah Torah. The Rambam says in the Mishnah, and the Rambam says the king has a Mishnah Lamelech, is number two. So Tzarei Din seems to be an official government job. What is this reminiscent of? Nazi Germany. Okay, in Eichmann had some sort of for volume something or other. Okay, and he's saying it sounds like horribly Germanic and Amalekite, right? But an official title. They used to have that. Unterscharführer. Okay, all those terrible things that German has an amazing capacity to turn innocuous, even that which is innocuous and neutral, perhaps even gentle, into cruel and merciless, right? Yeah. What was the joke we said a few weeks ago? The Chinese are going to take over the world eventually. That they're the next superpower, right? So you better learn Chinese. I asked everybody, how do you laugh in Chinese? So we said at the time, I know how to laugh in Spanish. It's ja, ja, ja. Right? And to laugh in Hebrew is like they spell in the Hebrew books, ha, ha, ha. You know how to laugh in German? You don't laugh in German. Okay? That's it. You don't laugh in German. Okay? So the Ishmaelite regimes today also, they have official names for the people who conduct the terrorism. It's just Jew murdering, but, the armed wing of Fatah. They have these long acronyms also. The Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and they have commanders, right? And the Izzadin Al-Qassam brigades and all the rest of them, I'm sure Sinwar has given himself a very nice, fancy title, right? He's CEO of Hamas now, right? Whatever it is. That's what they always do. The bad guys, for whatever reason, they relish in their Jew hatred and their genocidal tendencies. They also get themselves nice sounding, titles. Chief executioner. Okay, so that's what Tzarei Hayyudim was. Next, Zeresh. Haman's wife's name is mentioned specifically. Zeresh Ishto. She has a prominent place. Most wives throughout Tanakh don't need to get mentioned unless they're important in their own right. They're somebody, right? So this has been lost. Apparently, Zeresh was a somebody, just like Achashverosh's one wife who he had deposed, right? Achashverosh has many wives and concubines. Do we care what any of their names were? His wife, what does it matter? That's most of the time, his consorts or consorts do not matter, right? But Vashti is mentioned specifically. Why? Because she must have been a somebody, like the Medrash says. She was a descendant of Nebuchadnezzar, apparently a daughter, granddaughter of the last Babylonian king, right? So she's important because she puts her husband down. She disrespects him. She considers herself technically higher rank. She's a princess of the blood, and he's just some guy. When she calls him his father's stable boy, there are many who take that literally, that Medrash, and others say no, it's just an insult. Like, my father was a king, and you were, a stable boy. I don't care what you actually were. You might have been a barber or something else. The point is, you were a nothing. Okay, so she must have been some sort of big shot back then. That's what Chazal realized, the fact that her name is mentioned, and then you could see the same thing of Haman's 10 sons. Haman's 10 sons have a prominent place, like the song. Remember, every great victory has a song attached to it, right? So how do you know there's a triumphant song there? Because of the construction of the psukim, or the way it's written in the Bible, the way they actually write it into thought. So here it's arranged like a song. So they're singing about how Haman's 10 sons were hung publicly, and that was like a big deal. Why? Because Haman's 10 sons were all big shots back then. Okay, so why am I saying this? Someone asked me earlier about the musical chairs among the various Amalekites. The Palestinian Authority had their government and the prime minister resign, and now the other people coming in, whatever it is, without elections, of course. So like we said, it's musical chairs. So what is the significance of this? Does it mean anything to me? And the answer is no. There's no real difference to me between Parmashta and Arisai and Aridai, the rest of them, Vaizasa, right? Doesn't matter. They're all Haman's sons. Haman has 10 sons. This guy and that guy, they're all interchangeable. They're all somebody's. Yeah, this guy's prime minister today, and this guy's, the minister of this, minister of that. They're all Hamans. Haman has 10 sons. It shows you also, by the way, if you have a Haman, he's going to have a lot of children. Hamans always have lots of underlings. Hitler didn't work alone, right? And also all the other bad guys. And lastly, this is Amos Chacham. Wow, Kishmo Kenhu, the biblical commentator of modern times, who wrote for Das Mikra. You heard of him? We mentioned him before. He wrote the Perush on a few books of the Tanakh for Mossad Cook. So he knew the Trupp and the Diktuk very well. Okay, him and Rabbi Breuer are the only ones who really have what to write about. About understanding what the Trump means. Everything comes from them. So it says here that Haman came home and complained to all his loved ones and to Zeresh. By the way, Ohavav and Zeresh Ishto. Ohavav, his loved ones, his good friends, and his wife. Okay? Makes you wonder what exactly is going on there. So he says, I'm being treated nicely. Everything's going good for me, but I'm still, what the only thing missing, what makes me upset, you can understand, like also it shows you his terrible mitos. It says, I have everything I want in this world, and maybe even he didn't mention in 11 months from now I get to kill all the Jews. There was one thing he lacks, and that wasn't good enough. I see Mordechai. Okay? He sees Mordechai suffering. He sees Mordechai wearing sackcloth and his clothes ripped and he's crying and he's fasting. That's not good enough. He's still alive. Okay? I already got permission to kill him soon. I need to kill him now. Right? That's the only thing that's bothering him. So it says here, it's hard. I wrote this. Amos Chacham points out that here you have a succession of, count the words, 7 words that are all connected by the trop. 7 words without a disjunctive trop. They're all connectives. Af lo hevia Esther malkayim hamelech el mishtar asher asasa ki mosi. So it says im hamelech is where you finally get a stop that's tavir, and the word before that is a darga. And normally darga and tavir are natural connectives. Hamalkayim hamelech. So he says really in this string of words af lo hevia Esther malkayim hamelech, there was supposed to be at a stop at hamalka. Often there was, and sometimes the stop gets demoted for whatever reason. There's grammatical rules about this. So he should point out, he's just saying that if you had to parse this section, that's where the stop would have been. So Esther Hamalka Imamelech, not Esther Hamalka Imamelech. Don't read it like that, and there is significance to that. So those people in like trust, we discussed Diktuk earlier. You'll Doke with him in that you'll see that what he's saying here is correct. Sometimes you have a long string of words, especially in the regular books of the Bible, towards the beginning of a pasuk, lots of connectives. You have to know where there was supposed to be a disjunctive. And where there was supposed to be a disjunctive, you have to read it like that when you're trying to understand what it means. Okay.